So strength training for cyclists is something that is often overlooked. And if you are like me, you much prefer spending time on the bike or the turbo trainer rather than getting in the gym. So welcome back to the What Life. This is going to be a strength-based session and a bit of a tutorial on one of the strength sessions that I've been doing to build up my leg strength that's definitely been helping with my FTP. For the best part, I do 2 variations on a strength session, and this is not something that you're going to find on GCN. The first one is kettlebell based and it's more single leg work. To get into it, we're just going to start with a nice easy warm up. I'll take you through a few of the exercises, give you some demonstrations, and then hopefully you can get on and give it a go. To start with, this is all kettlebell based or just normal body weight for the warm up, kettlebell for the strength exercises. We're going to do 5 basic movements. Some of them have just a little variation, so it's the same movement with a slight variation. It's very specific to cyclists because we are trying to target our ITB, our glute med, and glute med means a bit of rotation, even though cycling is very unilateral. We want to get some rotation so we don't pick up any injuries, and we want to strengthen as much of the glute as possible. So the focus is very much quads, hamstrings, glute meds, and a little bit of the VMOs because we like to look good in our bib shorts. So to get warm, to get moving, and to get into some of the movements, we are going to start with a freestanding squat. So start with your feet just wider than shoulder width, toes pointed out just slightly. The key thing that we're going to focus on as cyclists is knee separation. So as we come down, we're going to separate the knee. I'm just going to rotate slightly so you don't get too much of a view into my split shorts. So drop down, push the knees out, separate, chest nice and high, eye line stays nice and high. I am by no means the person that you should be basing form on. Listen to what I say, not necessarily looking at what I do. I have a very tight lower back and I have horrible hamstring mobility, which actually makes it very hard on the bike to get into a nice aero position. So these are the movements that I definitely need to work on more. Back to the squat. Freestanding squat to warm up, so nice and easy. Drop down and stand back up. Key thing to focus on is knee separation. Separate those knees, get your adductor muscles working. Again, another key muscle for working on the bike. Probably do 15 to 20 freestanding squats, maybe do that a couple of times over. Remember, this is the warm up. Work on getting lower a little bit each time, driving your weight through the heels, separate the knees, back up to standing, hips nice and through, tense, engage the core. Second movement for the warm-up we're going to do is a reverse lunge. I love the reverse lunge because it requires way more hamstring. Again, another feature, hamstring and glute, another feature that we need on the bike. Standing, drop back, and up to standing. So we are taking from a standing position, back leg comes back, and then back up to standing. From here, back. Nice. Things to focus on are just driving that weight through that front foot, back up to the standing position through the heel of that front foot. Knee stays nice and stable over the ankle. And these are just our warm-up movements. Again, 15 to 20 of those, cycle through for a second time. Let's get into the strength portion of the workout, and this is when we grab our kettlebell. In the same way that when we warm up, we start with some of the bigger movements like the squats, we are going to do the same with the kettlebell. Nice and easy. I hold the kettlebell like this, which is a bit of a different grip. You are more than welcome to hold it from the top. And we're going to go back into that squat position. So sink down, same position with the feet, shoulder width just wider than shoulder width, toes pointing out just slightly. Focus on separating the knees. Drive the knees apart and stand back up, weight through the heel on the feet. Probably aim for 10 to 12 of these as we sink down, nice and low, chest stays nice and high. Do not be tempted to let your chest fall forward. Sink nice and low, drive up, separate the knees, and then come back up to standing, hips nice and through. The squat is a great movement to start with on a strength routine because it's a full body compound movement, and obviously you are using both legs, so it's a little bit easier. So our second strength movement is one of my favorites, which is a single leg good morning. For that, we're going to go into a split stance, so one foot just in front of the other. All the weight is going to drive through that front leg. So this back leg, we are just resting our weight onto that big toe, and there is hardly any pressure going through it. We're gonna reach down, pick up our kettlebell from the top. Nice strength, nice strong and engaged core. Slight bend and flex in the knee so it's not locked out, little bend and flex. From here, control the core as we bring that weight down to the ground and back up again. And we are pivoting from the hips. So the knee is not really bending too much as we come down and drive back up to standing. The aim is to get 8 to 10 of these. Down and back up. So again, things to think about is slight flex in the knee, but the knee stays in that single position. Pivot from the hip, down, as little weight as possible on this back foot, and if you get better at it, that back foot can come just off the ground. Strength engage your hamstring and your glutes to come back up to standing. So our third movement in this strength routine is going to be a slight variation on the single leg deadlift. Same position, same start position with that little split stance. Again, weight is going through that same leg, and we are just going to rotate slightly and focus more on our glute medius, the outside of our arse. And this is going to be really good for cyclists because it stretches our ITB as well and works on some of that kind of core mobility. So same principle, feet same width apart, same stance as we did for the single legs. Weight is driven through that one foot. Back foot is just resting on the toe. Reach down, pick up our weight. The only difference this time is the way that we are bringing the weight to the ground. We are going to rotate slightly, pivot around, and then come back up to standing. 8 to 10 of these again as we rotate round and we pivot slightly. Same soft knee, same control through the hamstring and the glutes, but the difference is instead of coming straight forward, we are rotating across and encouraging our glute med ITB to work. Key features for any of you cyclists that we need to really work on. And that will be basically, we're trying to create a nice straight knee drive when we're on the bike. That's the strength. When we get weak, that knee wobbles and we pick up some injuries, or it's just not as clean and efficient. This is how I've been training to really help my watts. Our fourth movement's pretty simple. It's nice and easy. Nice big leg burner this time. And you might need a little bench. I use my treadmill, and that is a weighted step up. Simply one foot up on the bench or whatever you have that you can use to step up onto. Doesn't need to be too high. Single leg, drive up into standing and back down. And that is pretty self-explanatory. All we need to do is make sure that we focus on a nice strong core, driving our weight through that heel of that front foot, keeping that knee nice and strong and in line. We're trying to limit any knee movement. You can probably see how that's relevant on the bike. We want a nice strong knee. Strong and up. Perfect. That's our fourth movement, is the step up. So our last movement in our kettlebell workout is also one of my favorites. It's a variation on a reverse lunge. But what we're trying to do is generate as much weight through this front leg. So we start from a standing position. We go into that split squat and our foot just becomes just behind us if I rotate around a little bit. So standing position, foot comes just behind. Again, we are resting on that tip of that back foot. And from here, we are just sinking down. Now we are not taking a nice big reverse lunge step. It's a very small half step, and we are trying to put as much weight through that front leg as possible. The difference this time is that we are bending that front knee right to the ground. Aim is to try and stay nice and strong through our torso, nice and high in the chest. But the reason we don't take a big step backwards is because we want as much of the weight to be on our front leg as possible. There we're working our quads, our hamstrings and our glutes. So again, our last exercise is that single leg squat, if you will. We just drop that supporting leg, comes behind us, a little bit of weight on that big toe, sink down, weight comes to the ground and drive up. Weight is always in the opposite hand to the leg that we're working in. Sink nice and low and back up. And the reality is that back leg should not really be having any weight on it whatsoever. Drop down and back up, chest stays nice and high. Perfect. So with my strength routine, my goal has always been to do between 8 and then I worked up to 10, and now I'm at 12 reps on a 20 kg kettlebell. I'd suggest that maybe you start with something between anything from 14 to 20 kg should be great, then just vary the reps as to whatever you might be able to manage. I definitely say go through each exercise, there's 5 exercises, maybe 2 to 3 times, and if you can fit that in, I guess once a week, I think you will definitely be making some good gains on the bike. The whole thing should only really take you between 20 to maybe 30 minutes if you just cycle from exercise to exercise. Again, reps between 8 and 12. Try and get 3 cycles of the whole 5 exercises in, and that should really kind of put you in a good place to be able to develop a lot of really key movements that's specific to cyclists that involve having nice strong knees, nice strong ITVs, and then obviously the glutes. So let me know how you get on with it. Let me know if that is helpful to you, and we will see you guys on the next episode of the What Life, especially with the strength stuff, where we're going to look at some barbell work.